Hi, this is Alicia Moreno. So this week we had two TED Talks to watch and then two articles to read. The first two TED Talks were really closely related. They were about informal economies. I've never really heard this phrase before. It helped once I realized that the first TED Talk he was talking about basically the black market. Um, and I've been to lots of places all over the world that have bazaars and places where you can buy things and services that are not in a traditional store setting. Um, what I was surprised about the first TED Talk was I expected him to talk about the danger of these kinds of economies, and instead he talked about businesses that have framed some of their products or services specifically to serve those markets. Like they don't even try to sell them in stores, and they haven't for decades, even though they might have a regular brick and mortar concept, and they sell to stores and provide whatever products and services. They also recognize that there is an economy outside of those traditional economies. And he was supportive of that, which I was kind of surprised. He also talked about the mainstream economies, the biggest ones producing about $1.5 trillion a year, which is just a giant amount of money. But that if you were to monetize the informal economies, it'd be about $10 trillion a year. And, the second TED Talk also served to show that's a really big gap in what is being provided on the more formal economy side, including things like taxes that are paid from those services and goods, and the informal market, which is like almost 10 times the amount of sales as the formal markets. The second TED Talk, she talked about informal markets as almost like a necessary evil. That she herself was an immigrant and recognized that the 11.7 million undocumented workers in the U.S., they don't really have any other choices other than to work in the informal economy, and those people are really very much taken advantage of, and a lot of times they're right in our field of view. We recognize it, and by not offering paths to formal work in the formal economy, we're saying that it's okay to work in the informal economy, and it's mostly substandard wages and work and safety and all of that. The two articles that we read, I don't know, I really didn't understand how they were related to they weren't related to informal economies, but they're related to social good. So the first one was, what is a transformative approach to care, and why do we need it? And so really what it talked about is how socially we define care, and also how we gender what care is. We make it a feminine concept, and in feminist literature they're really making strides to redefine what care means. And then the second one was religion as a path to civic engagement. Now I actually felt a bond with that article, because whether or not you're a religious person, most missions of most major religions are for social good and civic good. And as much as you think religions are different, the basic tenets are largely the same. And they really not only encourage, but really require civic engagement and support of your fellow man. So while the two articles weren't really tied to informal economies, overall, I think the four items that we had to review this week really made us think about how we construct our lifestyles and how we prioritize and make things easy and available to some people and more difficult for others. Thanks.